Senate passes medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper. House of Reps tackle telecom operators, demand 22 billion naira refund to customers. Also on the program, we will talk to the chairman of the Rules and Business Committee in the House of Representatives. This is the Hallowed Chambers. I am Tijesu Adeoye. The fiscal document upon which the 2022 appropriation bill will be predicated upon has been passed by the Senate. The benchmark for crude was pegged at $57 per barrel. GDP growth rate was projected to be 4.20%, and inflation is expected to be 13%.
The medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper, MTF, is a major feature of the annual budget presentation cycle. It provides the basic structure for the estimate and assumption that underline the annual budget. In compliance with Section 11 subsection 1B of the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007, the federal government, after consultation with the states, is mandated not later than 4 months before the commencement of the next financial year, caused to be prepared a medium-term expenditure framework for the next 3 financial years.
The Joint Committee hereby recommends as follows. The daily crude oil production of 1.8 million barrels per day, 2.23 million barrels per day, and 2.22 million barrels per day for 2022, 2023, and 2024 respectively be approved in view of average 1.93 million barrels per day over the past 3 years, and the fact that a very conservative oil output benchmark has been adopted for the medium term in order to ensure greater budget realism. Those in favor of this recommendation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The House of Representatives has asked banks and telecommunications operators to refund the over 22 billion lost to ATM and web-based fraud by subscribers and customers. It also urged victims of SIM swap fraud to pursue legal actions against mobile network operators.
Unfortunately, over 22 billion naira was lost to fraudsters. People's identities have been stolen by fraudsters in connivance with workers in the banks and staff of the telecommunication networks.
You said it's just an allegation, you haven't seen it.
The Nigerian Senate will now consider a proposal on the amendment to the administrative structure of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021 from President Muhammadu Buhari. The amendment intends to change the appointment of 2 non-executive board members to accommodate more members in line with the principle of a balanced geopolitical representation of the country. President Buhari believes this change will give a sense of participation and inclusion in every section of the country in the decision-making of strategic institutions in the oil industry.
Dear distinguished Senate President, forwarding administrative structure amendments to the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA 2021. I wish to forward to the Senate the attached administrative structure amendments of the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA 2021, for your kind consideration and approval, please. Having carefully reviewed the administrative structure of both the Commission and the authority, I would like to propose the following amendments to the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. A. Appointment of non-executive board members. The Petroleum Industry Act 2021 provided for the appointment of 2 non-executive members for the board of the 2 regulatory institutions. I am of the view that this membership limitation has not addressed the principle of balanced geopolitical representation of the country. I therefore pray for the intervention of the Ninth Assembly to correct this oversight in the interest of our national unity. Needless to add that this amendment will provide a sense of participation and inclusion to almost every section of the country in the decision-making of strategic institutions such as the oil industry. The proposed amendments to the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, which is strictly about the administrative structure of the institutions is aimed at laying sound administrative structures governed by simple operational laws that will ensure smooth takeoff and consequent growth of the two institutions. It is also in line with this administration's commitment to carry out petroleum industry reforms. Find attached Annexure 1. While I request for your kind consideration an amendment of the Petroleum Industry Act to reflect this important national aspiration, please accept, distinguished Senate President, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely.
Lawmakers in the House of Representatives have resolved to push for the establishment of a strong security task force that will operate along the borders of Katsina, Kaduna, Kano, Abia, and parts of Kogi State. The lawmakers have also supported a bill seeking to exempt the police from the contributory pension.
If measures are not immediately taken to stop the activities of these bandits in Rogo local government area and other border local government areas of Kano State, their nefarious activities could spread to other local government areas of Kano
Please approach
State,
the chair.
thereby upsetting the relative peace enjoyed by the state.
Bandits also that were flushed out of Niger State have moved to Kogi State. Just this week, a white man was kidnapped at the headquarters of my constituency.
Bill seeks to amend Section 5, subsection 1, paragraph A of the Pension Reform Act of 2014 to include the Nigerian police among those categories of services personnel that are not part of the Contributory Pension Act, like the Armed Forces, the DSS.
We will go on a short break. When we return, Honorable Abubakar Falata will join me to talk about rules and business in the lower legislative house. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Joining me on the program is the Chairman, House Committee on Rules and Business, Honorable Abubakar Falata. Welcome to the Hallowed Chambers.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with the responsibilities of the committee that you chair, the Rules and Business Committee. It is generally described as the engine room of the Parliament.
The work of the House Committee on Rules and Business is essentially the gateway to the House. We're the gatekeepers. We process all motions, we process all bills and resolutions of the House, and then I present them to the House for approval. That is in a nutshell. All motions, all bills, the business of the House of Representatives are the ones who process them, present them to the House for the approval of the House, and then for communication to Senate, and also finally to the office of Mr. President for assent.
In the House, there are 360 members. How do you attend to the request for motions and bills listing by your colleagues?
Well, it's very hectic. It's been very difficult, but we have a bill chart. We have chart for bills and motions. Bills and motions are treated in line with the provision of our rules. Bills and motions are treated in accordance with first come, first serve, except for motions on matters of urgent public importance. There are instances where there will be an urgent issue which would involve the loss of lives and property if not attended to immediately. Except for those, bills and motions are treated on the basis of first come, first serve. So, but it is very, very difficult job trying to attend to the needs of 360 members. Of course, some certainly complain of delay in attending to their listening. Yes, it's a very, very challenging job.
How well has the 9th House fared in terms of number of motions and bills?
Yeah, a lot. We've processed over 1,000 bills in the last 2 years. We passed over 80 bills at third reading.
we've been able to achieve a lot in terms of our bills presentation, concurrence, and so forth. We've been able to do much, in fact, more than the previous assembly within a very short time. And despite the fact that we have a challenge of COVID-19, which stopped us from functioning effectively. You remember that there was a time when we are sitting only once in a week, then we reverted to twice a week, and then we are now fully restored. We are now sitting 3 times in a week. Then we are also, as I told you, facing a serious, very serious financial challenge.
The 9th National Assembly is in its 3rd leg of a 4-year tenure. What legislative interventions are you prioritizing in the new calendar year?
To refresh your mind, you know that we had, the House came up with a legislative agenda, which is our guide in terms of key and critical national issues relating to peace, relating to security, relating to the economy, relating to education, relating to agriculture. These, and then various critical issues relating to constitutional amendments. These are our guide. We have been guided by our legislative agenda.
It does appear the House is finding it difficult to constitute the conference committee that will meet with the Senate to harmonize the only area of disagreement in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill.
Yeah, it's a very tedious job. You need someone who would give his best. So we don't want to put this. We put people who are knowledgeable in the area and who are also ready to devote much time, because it's a very tedious job. So we are careful in selecting members of the conference committee so that we don't put people that will not be able to deliver as we want.
Every day the House passes motions and comes up with resolutions, yet these motions merely remain a piece of advice as once put by a government appointee. What is the state of the proposed law aiming to criminalize non-adherence to Parliament's resolutions?
They are not being complied with. The only committee that will give you that answer is the committee on, we have a whole committee on legislative compliance. They are the only ones who can give you a solid answer as to whether our resolutions are being complied with or not. In a situation where an agency refuse to comply with our resolutions, we have measures to take, but we are restrained. We don't want to go for the big stick to get compliance. But we have a committee, and a lot of resolutions are being complied with. Yes, that's the Legislative Privileges and Powers Act. Yes, that's and now, in fact, we are going to also enshrine it in the Constitution. But we have also passed at 3rd reading the Legislative Powers and Privileges Act, where non-compliance is now a criminal offense. You can be convicted for refusing to comply with the resolution of the House, and you can go to jail for 3 years for refusal to comply. So if you are a minister and you are jailed for 3 years, it automatically you are dismissed from the cabinet because you are now an ex-convict.
Motions relating to insecurity have been taking the more on the floor of the House. How well have they helped to address Nigeria's security challenges?
Not only the motions, in fact, they have now been codified into bills. There are a lot of security-related motions, bills that are in the pipeline. By the time we are through with those things, a lot of the bottlenecks that prevented action in unison will be handled. These laws that we are about to enact will create synergy among all the security agencies. Hitherto, those synergy, there's a lack of very gross, remarkable absence of synergy amongst the security agencies. These pieces of legislation that we are about to enact will do away with that problem.
You talked about financial challenge, yet many Nigerians believe lawmakers live flamboyant lifestyles.
Members of the public are very, very naive. They don't know the workings of the system. People naively just, whatever is allocated to the National Assembly, people just take their pen and then divide the amount by the number of senators and members of the House of Representatives. They don't know that we have, apart from the members of the House, we have, each member has about 5 legislative aides. Each senator has about 7 or 8 legislative aides. We have an entire bureaucracy. We have the workers who are directly under National Assembly Service Commission, who earn salary, who are also pensioners. They are on permanent and pensionable appointments. They also don't know that the National Assembly has a school. Instead of legislative studies, it's under the National Assembly. We have a lot of lecturers, a lot of students that we are training, all with those funds. So people are very naive about the activities of the National Assembly. And then processing one single bill costs colossal amount of money. Like constitutional amendment, for example. You need billions to execute just one set of constitutional amendments. So people don't know that the public hearings, the research that goes into enacting one bill is enormous and it's very expensive. So people just think that money is just being shared. No, we don't share money. The monies that are allocated in terms of budgetary allocation is grossly inadequate for the operation and functions of the National Assembly.
The Senate in January passed for third reading a bill to address the dichotomy between university and polytechnic graduates. What is the state of the bill at the House?
We are not delaying. It's in the pipeline. When bills are passed by Senate and forwarded to us for our concurrence, it goes also through the normal process of a bill. It will be read the first time, then it will be tabled again for second reading, where it will be debated. And then the only difference is that instead of now forwarding the bill to a standing committee, the bill directly goes to the committee of the whole for consideration. And then it doesn't require public hearing because we assume that the Senate has already done the public hearing. So it's a very painstaking job which requires a lot of diligence. So it's in the pipeline, it will be passed.
And how soon do we see it pass?
I can't give you an ironclad specific date. I can't give you a specific date, but it will be passed. Maybe before the end of the year. Maybe.
States are banning open grazing as a way to curb rising insecurity. Will you support your state government to go the same way?
You don't take a position just like that. The grazing is a way of life of an entire people. It's a way of life that had existed for a long, very, very long time, for centuries. You just don't come and then stop it in a day without providing an alternative. That is a recipe for crisis. You can only stop it when you have a solution. You have an alternative. Okay? If you don't want me to behave this way, give me an alternative way of behavior. You don't just wake up and say, like, ranching. Now, do you have you allocated the land for the ranching? Have you made provision for the infrastructure for the ranching? It's not something that you just wake up and then, okay, fine, today my people want me to do to ban open grazing. Boom, you just ban it. You don't enact a law that you don't have the machinery to implement. It's a recipe for crisis. It can only be done with an alternative. Yes, I'm opposed to it as it is because it's been done out of sentiment, purely out of sentiment, not out of proper, well thought out strategy of eliminating or dealing with a problem. It's been done out of pure sentiment, not out of well thought out program.
Let's talk about the outcome of your investigation on the SIM swap fraud. What were the highlights of your findings?
We submitted our report since last year. We did the work promptly. We adhered to this. We didn't seek for any extension of time. We submitted our report, and because of the COVID break, we had after the COVID-19 break, and then we went on a very long vacation. That's what this is. But then, as you can see, we after this submitted as a very solid work. We gave in all our best for the production of that report, and I'm glad that we are able to deliver. And the House was very pleased with the outcome of our investigation. And now it is up to the agencies concerned to implement our recommendations, including ensuring that banks refund people who are defrauded. Over 22 billion naira was removed from people's accounts by fraudsters. So it's only fair that banks refund those who have been defrauded.
On one hand, you recommend that banks and telecom companies repay customers and subscribers defrauded. On the other hand, you advise victims of fraud to take legal actions. How do you juxtapose this?
Yeah, we have, as I told you, we've done our recommendation. It has been approved. We are sending the recommendation to the various agencies concerned, and we are asking our Committee on Administrative Compliance to follow up. Anybody who refuses to implement, then we take another, we take serious action against those who refuse to implement our resolutions.
That's all we have time for on the program. You can watch a repeat on Sunday and also see a full show on TVC News YouTube channel. Do not forget to subscribe, like, and share. Follow me on all social media platforms to continue the conversation online. My name is Tijesu Adeoye. Thank you for watching. See you next time.